Welcome to the very first episode of the Crow's Nest, where I get call-ins from you guys and we react and we have conversations about anything anime related. Probably gonna be a lot of One Piece stuff starting off, but when we get more callers, we're gonna get more, variety. Thank you for you tapping in to my first episode, and the number should be on the screen. If you want to call, leave a voicemail with a hot take. I'd love to hear it. Also, in the future, when I go live, we're gonna do it on stream. You can call and get your takes off. Just don't get me demonetized, please. All right. Without any further ado, we're gonna go in and hop right into it. Okay, man. We got a decent amount of mail today. Let's see what we gonna. I'm gonna start with my boy with this first one here. Let's see what we got. All right.
This is Fire Angel Chris calling.
Shout out my boy Chris. What we got?
But I just wanted to discuss a little bit about Zoro and his opponent. I feel like me and another friend have discussed this for a long time, but I feel like Oda dropped the ball on Zoro opponents and like just the whole arc of swordsmanship concept. When the last time Zoro fought anybody that cares about the sword?
That's a great
question.
Care
about the ways of the blade and care about the overall, what Zoro actually cares about, or even close to it. I think we should have had many fighters, especially when you in Wano, Zoro should have had many opponents, or at least one or two that cared about swordsmanship. He didn't fight anybody like that. The king did not care about that. He didn't fight the Shogun. The Shogun was Orochi. He sucked. And obviously he had ties to Momo and Hiyori. But my point is, Zoro should have been facing people that care about swordsmanship. The last time you can say he probably fought a real swordsman that's worth something, that probably cared about the blade, was what? Ryuma Shadow? And I think that's
crazy.
Very disappointing to have a point like Zoro and then have these type of problems.
Nah, that's facts, man. Appreciate you, my boy, for calling in the show. All right, I'm gonna say this. Oda has a swordsmanship problem, right? It's why we have all these debates and discussions about Mihawk and Shanks. Now, a lot of it stems from people just wanting Shanks to be stronger than Mihawk, which is fair. But at the same time, the fact that it's been left up to debate in the way it is shows me that there's been a problem with the presentation of swordsmanship and the way it's communicated in the story, right? So, Zoro and the art of the blade, which he follows, I feel like we can agree that there is something special there between people that are swordsmen and their blade. And even with Roger, Shanks, they name their blade, they love their blades. They have a connection to it. But I do think it's a little different when it comes to Zoro, probably with Mihawk, I'm assuming, since he's the world's strongest swordsman, and just samurai in general, right? But the issue is that when you don't show anybody else having that type of dedication to the blade, you don't give Zoro any fighters that care about swordsmanship. And it could have been Shiryu, but then you go give him the clear fruit, which kind of ruins any hype of a battle of swordsmanship between those two, right? I just don't care for that fight anywhere after you give him that fruit. Like, I was interested in Shiryu to see about his skill with the blade. Now he can go invisible. I'm like, he might even be a Sanji opponent. But anyway, I think that we have nobody else in the story aiming for the position of world's strongest swordsman. Then it kind of makes the position of world's strongest swordsman not feel important. Like Mihawk himself, we know King of the Pirates is a perilous path. He said it himself, harder than what he even got. But somebody else could have wanted to be the world's strongest swordsman, like aside from Kuina. Zoro's ran into nobody at all in this story that even cares about the title of world's strongest swordsman or has mentioned it. And the people he do run into that use a sword, King, for example, don't even care. Oh, you think I'm just a swordsman? Like, it's like, come on, bro. It makes it feel very underwhelming, and the whole the idea of swordsmanship has been devalued in One Piece, right? Like, nobody else in the crew. What Oda would do, he'll have a dude that's second in command to the captain. We know there's a Zoro opponent, and it's like, I got this character all fleshed out. It's gonna be Pika, right? He's gonna have the island fruit. Oh, let me just give him a sword since he fights Zoro too. They don't care about the sword. Same for King, even though King wasn't really a sword. And it really, Mr. One, who was a blade himself, felt like the closest thing to that. And he forced Zoro to grow and become and learn how to cut steel. But since then, it's just like a downward spiral. Like, Even Kaku talking about I'm the strongest swordsman in CP0 or CP9 at the time. But like, did we really think swordsmanship was important in that fight? I don't think that was the case. So it becomes an issue where it feels like swordsmanship in general is not important in One Piece, and then it reflects the way the fans talk about the world's strongest swordsman. If people in the story putting so much respect on Shank's name every time you hear about him, and then you got like nobody really mentioning Mihawk in that light or just mentioning the swordsmanship in general, then you wind up with where we at right now, which is a bunch of people that think Mihawk is a bomb for some reason. I don't agree with that. That's OD. But yeah, Oda got a swordsmanship problem, and I think it all stemmed from the way he's handled it throughout the story, the way he's handled Zoro's opponents, and not really giving them any interest in it. Even with Tashigi, like, she looks just like Quina. It would have been cool if Tashigi like wanted to be like one of the strongest swordsmen, but instead she just wants to collect swords. But you're not strong enough to do that. Like, that's a little, you're not built like that, little mama. So it's like, come on, man. I agree. I have to agree. And I think that this is just something that Oda dropped the ball on, for sure. All right, man. What we looking at next? All right.
Hey, Krow. I guess I wanted to ask you a bit more about Kaku. Specifically, for whatever reason, he's always been one of my favorite characters. I've always liked his design, and I think as far as antagonists go, his motivations are relatively unique. It sort of started when I remember reading right when Zoro had defeated him in Ennie's lobby, and Zoro told him that he was fired from Galley Law, and there was sort of like this expression of regret on Kaku's face, which you don't really see often with One Piece villains, I feel like. And then also, when you look at pictures of him when he was a child that Oda's drawn, you see it's a picture of him like holding a ship. So it seems like there's that attachment to shipbuilding that's there. And it sort of seems like at every step of his character up until now, there's been this sort of level of remorse as well, even with what happened with Stussy during Egghead. So I guess what I'm curious about, and I want your opinion about, is do you think there's any sort of redemption for Kaku? I don't know if it's going to happen for the other former CP9 people, especially not Lucci, but potentially. But it seems like with Kaku, there's definitely potential. I don't know if it's going to be like him going back to Galley Law and working with them. But it's always been something that I thought is unique about him. So I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you.
Appreciate you. Leave your name next time. Let the people know who you are. If you don't want to, that's fine too. That's just all right. But I definitely think that there's something there with Kaku, and I think it's going to be expanded on with Stussy as well. Like, I don't know if that's a ship Oda going to pull. You know, he's not really a big shipper, but I was surprised to see him in CP0. I wouldn't say I was surprised, but I thought that his redemption would start after that. But now that we saw the stuff, and even had Lucci showing like little hints of like, can you just please save my friend? I don't think Lucci can be redeemed. I think he is a stone cold killer, and he just wants to murder people, and he's gonna find a way. But I think Kaku is gonna wind up back. I do, like, even though it might be a tough way to explain it, I do think there's a scenario where he can wind up back at Galley Law, because Water 7 is gonna be important going forward, right? Like, maybe Kaku, he heard the Vegapunk message. He heard about the world flooding or whatever. And he goes back to Water 7. He's like, listen, I know we had our differences. I fucked up. I'm the reason why, you know what I'm saying, Iceberg almost got killed, this and that. But we need ships because the world is flooding. Let me come back to work. And I can see a scenario where Iceberg forgives him and allows him to join back, and Stussy is just around for whatever reason at that point. Lucci is cooked though. But it's kind of hard to work with. How long was that in his lobby? For 10 years? 10 plus years? It's kind of hard to work with people that long and not develop any type of relationship with them. So yeah, Brody is definitely, he's going to be one of the antagonists that winds up getting redeemed and makes his way back to the good side. And I can see him at Water 7 during the final war, building ships with people. And he's probably going to wind up working with, what buddy name is? They do the flags. The annoying bounce, Bellamy. And I'm not saying Kaku is joining the Grand Fleet or whatever, but he would be an ally at the end of the story. And he might even be the one to put Lucci down. Like maybe he tries to make Lucci see the light, and Lucci just absolutely refuses to because he's Lucci. And Kaku is like, I hate to do this, but you gotta do what you gotta do. For sure, I think that that's a good point. I think Kaku is interesting. I wouldn't say favorite character interesting, but I do think he's an interesting character. So I'm not mad at that. All right, what we looking at? My boy D Lanham. I'm already knowing.
Hey yo, Crow's Nest. What's up? This is your boy D Lanham. Hey man, I just want to know what do you think Kingdom does better than One Piece? Because they're both long stories. They're both epic adventures, but what does Kingdom have that One Piece doesn't? And also vice versa. All right, man. Peace. Love the show.
All right, short and sweet. I like it. Nah, I just. You said you love the show, like. All right, it's the first episode. Shout out to my boy though. He already know he gonna love it. Kingdom has a better sense of rivalry amongst the main character and his peers. That's one thing it does better, undoubtedly. I'm forgetting his name. Oken's son, not Oken's. What's his name? Osen's son, Ohan, and my boy Muten. I might be pronouncing it wrong because I've never actually watched the anime. I've only read it. Muten is one of my favorite characters. Probably my favorite non-Shin. Well, Kanki is actually my favorite character. But yeah, he did a very good job of establishing a rivalry that you didn't really feel with Kid and Law. Like I felt like under no real circumstance did you really think Kid and Law were actually Luffy's rivals. Now, if you want to say Blackbeard is that's cool, but we don't see enough of Blackbeard to feel that way. What else is Kingdom? I mean, as far as strategy, of course, Kingdom. I mean, it's a war-focused manga, so it has a much better strategy in regards to battle. But it's not really a fair comparison because if I told you One Piece has better exploration than Kingdom, it should because it's an exploration-based, not exploration-based, but that's a huge part of it. It has better world building, I guess, would be the better word there. But these are my favorite two manga, and it's very hard. It was at one point where I kind of was like, hey, Kingdom might take One Piece's spot, man. But those are definitely the things it does better. I think that it's a signing, whatever. So of course it's gonna handle darker themes better. So and this comes down to one of my issues with people. I see recently there's been a big trend of a lot of One Piece people watching or reading Kingdom, and it's they got to compare everything to One Piece, which is so corny to me because these are supposed to be communicating extremely different stories, right? And I'm not saying you're doing this. I know you access because you know how much I love Kingdom and how much I love One Piece. But just the whole, oh man, they're not doing it like this. They're not trying to tell you the same type of stories. It's like comparing a basketball player and a soccer player. Oh, well, LeBron dominated his sport like this and Ronaldo didn't do this or that. Bro, it's two different sports. It's kind of hard to compare, you feel me? So, I definitely think that Kingdom does some things better than One Piece for sure in that regard. I'm trying to see what else would I say. I said characterization of... Nah, One Piece got to have that with the backstories. I ain't gonna lie. It's definitely One Piece. I think the main characters are very, very similar. That's one thing that I think that makes me love them so much. Both of them have a similar main character. Shin and Luffy, or Zen in the Chinese version, I think. I don't know. But as far as their attitudes and morality, I think they're very similar. And even just their personality. I love both of them a lot. Luffy, I like a little bit more than Shin, of course, but I definitely think there's a lot of similarities between the two. It's a great question, though, man. These are my 1 and 2s, and it's very, very hard for me to even compare them because of the different types of stories they're trying to tell. But there's definitely some things, and it's just natural. You know what I'm saying? For sure. Appreciate you for leaving a message, my guy. What we got now? All right.
I got a hot take for you, man. Tell me why Hunter x Hunter is better than One Piece.
I don't agree with that statement. It's Hunter x Hunter, but is not better. I mean, I'm sorry. I think that there are things, once again, like we were just talking about with Kim, there are things that Hunter x Hunter does better than One Piece, mainly the power system is leagues beyond. But at the same time, I do think Hunter x Hunter's power system is a little overrated. I think that it's very well defined and established early, right? But that doesn't just automatically just make it better than everything else. Like me personally, if I had to really pick, I think Bleach has the best power system in manga that I've read. Obviously, I haven't read everything. I've read a lot, but I've read and watched a lot, but not everything. But just because Hunter x Hunter is so detailed and thought out, sometimes that can be a problem though, because then you put yourself in positions where you just got to make people break the rules. You know what I'm saying? And that's, it's a specialist thing. Specialist is like the rule break button, pretty much, right? I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't finished the manga either, but I think that's kind of where he was going with that. You know what I'm saying? The power system is better than One Piece. Main character's not even close. Deuter antagonist, not even close. I mean, I don't know if you want to say Zoro is a Deuter antagonist, but not even close. Like, Zoro's 20 times better than Killua. What does... It's got to be just the power system. I really can't think of nothing else I can say confidently that Hunter x Hunter just does better. I mean, I guess pacing, I guess, but it's like, can I even say it's better pacing when the story's not even finished? You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess while it's going, the pacing of the story itself is good, but is it gonna end? I know we're getting new stuff, but I don't know, man. That's really the only thing I can say. Definitively, Hunter x Hunter. Fights. Let's say fights. I'm sorry. Look, in general, I would say Hunter x Hunter has better fights than One Piece from start to finish, and that's mainly because of the power system. But at the same time, I think that One Piece does a better job at tying its fights into its theme and storytelling. So, like, when you get Luffy defeating Doflamingo and punching him down basically through the city of Dressrosa to ground level, and it's like you knocked a king or a god or whatever off of his throne into the bottom of the earth. When you get Luffy beating Enel with the golden bell to tie it in with the story to Buddy that was down at Jaya, it's like it makes it feel so much. It feels amazing to see it. Because it ties everything. He does a great job at communicating his themes of his arcs through the way he ends his fights. But if we just talk about choreography and just as a battle in general, I guess you could say, yeah, Hunter x Hunter definitely has better fights. Like the Meruem and Netero fight, there's not a One Piece fight I would put up there as good as that one. Would I? Manga Zoro and King and trash, but anime Zoro and King is up there. That's crazy. What else we got? I think that's all I would really say. I mean, Luffy and Lucci. Once again, the way that fight is written is just beautiful to me. It doesn't have the choreography. People for some reason anime fans love the slap box and shit. They don't got that, but it's just an amazingly written fight with Usopp. Like his moments. It's emotions. That's what it is. I think One Piece has emotional fight moments, but as we talking about pacing and choreography and all that, yeah, I give it 100 for sure. That's it. That's all you get from me though. Like that's literally that's it. We got a long one from my boy. Let's see. Pause. Let's see what he comes through with though. Let's see. All right, we got one from my boy Preach. Let's see what we got here, man. He sent it to me personally. He didn't leave a voicemail. He's too good for that. But let's see what we got.
Yo, Krow, congrats on the new series. It's Marshall D. Preach. Now, Funimation dub is worse than 4Kids. I'm not trolling. I'm so serious. Now,
Bruh,
hear me
what?
out. And I'm talking about One Piece specifically here, just to be clear. On one hand, you have 4Kids. Incredible theme song. Very catchy, funny. And then I see 4Kids more as like a troll, a parody. I don't take it too serious. It's like 30 episodes long. Gave us some great laughs over the years.
But that's the problem, though. I think One Piece had like a real big. I'm gonna let you finish. I just want to, because this is a little long, so I want to respond as you go. I feel like the One Piece in the West, or at least in America, kind of got a reputation as the goofy troll manga because of the 4 Kids, the way they handled it. So that can be like, you can say it's fun because One Piece is fun and goofy at the end of the day. But at the same time, I think it kind of put like a lasting stain on it. But I'm listening. Let me see.
Funimation and this whiny Luffy, which, they've had 1,000 episodes to get Luffy right, and they still can't figure it out. So my biggest problem is really Luffy, because Luffy is supposed to be this endearing, lovable character. He's the main character. It's so easy to fall in love with Luffy in the Japanese anime, in the manga, but somehow the star of the show ruins One Piece because, first of all, he's the main character, so he's in every single episode. And it just they can't get it right. It's just not the same energy that we need for Luffy. Luffy is one of my favorite characters of all time, and he feels bland and just annoying. There's nothing lovable about Luffy in Funimation. So the big problem here too is, people blame 4Kids for the lack of popularity of One Piece in the Western audience.
So yeah,
but really, I think Funimation deserves just as much, if maybe not more, than the credit for that and the fault for that, where you have years and years and years of this horrible English dub, where people nowadays, I honestly, I think every single One Piece fan that I know reads the manga and also maybe watches the Japanese version of the anime. They don't watch Funimation. They don't watch 4Kids. So, I mean, that really says something. I don't think Funimation is the worst in every single series. They've had some decent runs here and there, but it's just, I don't know what it is about One Piece Funimation where I just cannot stand it, bro. It's absolute trash.
Okay, that's a little loaded. All right. I think that Luffy's voice actor in the Funimation dub is absolutely terrible. I agree with that. It sounds like and it's similar to Naruto's voice actor, where it sounds like they got something stuck in their throat and they can't clear their throat, so they're just talking through it. It's the same for both, but it's worse with Luffy. I can tolerate Naruto's dub voice sometimes, rightfully, and that's the problem. But I also think that it's because these two are the main characters, so we expect them to be a lot more like, what I'm saying, what we've established in our mind with the Japanese version. Because Luffy's Japanese voice is absolutely perfect. And I don't think it's possible to find a dub voice as good. Even when we look at like the live action, the way that Inyaki talks, it just doesn't feel like Luffy. But I think it's just hard to get an English Luffy down. But I don't know if I want to go as far as saying that the Funimation is just as responsible, because this is the problem with that. I think the average anime fan, at least until like the COVID boom, right? When we got a whole bunch of new fans that are watching their shows in dub, because dubs now are pretty good. But back in like the 2000s, and let's say the 10s too, it was, I won't say it was rare to get a good dub, but it was hard to come across a good dub, right? That's why the stigma exists now. Like, people be trying to rewrite history saying that we don't like dubs because we don't understand Japanese, so we just think it sounds better. No, if you go back and if you've been watching anime for a long time, dubs used to be terrible. They're better now, but they used to be terrible. And I still think now, for the most part, Japanese is usually better on a consistent basis, but I can watch and tolerate dubs. But I think that the Funimation is heavily responsible. Not Funimation, 4Kids is heavily responsible for the way we look at One Piece's aesthetic, right? I don't think the dub would scare people away that much, because a lot of times, sometimes people just prefer to hear it in their natural language. Even if Luffy's voice is trash, people are going to watch it in Japanese. I mean, in English, just because they prefer to hear stuff in the natural language. You can multitask, you can do things. So like, even if 4Kids had Luffy's voice perfect, or if Funimation had Luffy's voice perfect, or the worst voice ever, people would just prefer to watch it because, it's just more convenient. But the problem with the 4Kids was the way it kind of ruined the aesthetic of One Piece and made it so goofy to a much worse extent than how goofy One Piece already is. Like Sanji with the lollipop, right? That's crazy. Obviously, you want to appeal to kids, but it made One Piece feel like, no, this fun, goofy story is actually made for children. And I know Shonen's audience is young boys or whatever, but One Piece has themes and a lot of different stuff that obviously is not for children, right? It's for maybe for teenagers and young adults, but not for kids. The 4 kids, imagine the 4 kids dub making it to Dressrosa and telling us Viola and Doflamingo's backstory. Like it just wouldn't have worked. And that's where the difference is. At the end of the day, the Funimation, while it may not sound good, most dubs don't sound good, but at least the Funimation can still pull off the scenes that it has to. Even if, like I said, it might not sound the way you want it to, but it still does them, and it does a good job at doing them. It kind of is pretty faithful to the source of the anime, not the manga, because the anime just doesn't do the manga good. Look at the Sanji stuff, but versus the 4 kids, which kind of has to redo things and make it worse, right? Like look at this. They changed. They even changed Smoker's name of his vehicle for some reason. Like that's not the most crazy change, but they just made it so childish. Actually, no, the small cog. I think they changed it to the small cog. That's actually kind of tough. Let me look it up. 4 kids, One Piece changes. So they removed guns for the most part. They didn't remove them, but like, it was just crazy censorship. It was wild. When Luffy got hit with the things that stabbed him from Don Creek, it was like suction cups in the 4-kid dub. It's stuff like that. It's stuff like that, bruh. And they skipped Little Garden? Did they? I didn't know that. But that also goes to show, like, it completely skips Little Garland. Why I say Garland? They changed Bellemere's backstory. I can go on and on. Right? I can't. But that's the point I'm trying to make. Funimation, at the end of the day, is just it's an English version of the Japanese dub. So even if it sounds bad, it's still One Piece. Where 4 kids just literally changed the story and made it much worse in some aspects, in a lot of aspects. Yeah, the rap song was fun or whatever, but at the end of the day, it was trash. So I can't completely agree with that. But I do think Luffy's dub voice in Funimation is dog water, bro. I fucking hate it. I will 1000% agree with you on that front. Thank you so much for watching the very first episode of The Crow's Nest. I look forward to doing this again. I look forward to doing it live when we get calls. And please go ahead and call and leave a voicemail so I can react to it. Get wild, get crazy, ask questions if you need help with getting into anime, if you need to ask me let's do some power scaling. It don't matter. I just really enjoy talking about anime and I want to do it with y'all and I want y'all on my platform. So thank y'all once again to everybody that left me a voicemail and everybody in the future that will. Please like the video, subscribe, and we'll be back.